Dale, you'll have to remind me who you're representing tonight.
I represent Bond Sand and Gravel.
Got it. Karen, it's your legal. Okay, good.
You are live on Channel 8 and YouTube.
All right, I've got my YouTube up. Good evening. The time is now 6:31 p.m. I'm Chairman Mike Curry, and I'd like to call the Select Board Business Meeting to order on this 26th day of May 2021. If everyone could rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay, before we begin, I'd like to state for the record that not only are we being streamed live on TCTV, Cable Station 8, and our YouTube web platform, but this evening's recording will be available for later viewing on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe and hit the bell so you get notifications for all our awesome meetings. Just doing a quick roll call. I see we've got Adam LaMontagne, Tim Toth, Karen. I always struggle with your last name, Karen. I'm sorry.
Hubeck Kylie.
Hubeck Kylie. Thank you. Jeffrey Grem, Jeff Bennett, Dale Kylie, and as always, we have our TCTV support crew along with us. We do have our quorum for this evening, and it looks like we're getting a couple more people joining us along the right way. All right, I'll just go through a couple more housekeeping rules. As always, our agenda for this evening has been set no later than 48 hours out by law. It is publicly available at the official source for town information, and that would be templetonma.gov. If you go to the meetings calendar, you can see a copy of this 195-page agenda, so you can look at all the reference material and follow along. Although I have the discretion as chairperson to add and remove from the agenda, it has been set to allow for time, personnel resources, and public awareness. I reserve the right to move agenda items around to best fit our business and guests, and I thank you for that. Public participation and comment is still possible via the chat section of the live stream on YouTube. Excuse me, I and TCTV are monitoring the chat section and will address comments and questions as they appear or when appropriate. Remember that this chat area is part of the permanent record, so if it's not already apparent, please state your name as you would during town meeting, as YouTube names can sometimes be informal, and we want to make sure that residents are having equal opportunity and the chance to ask questions. You should note also that the live chat can sometimes be between 10 and 20 seconds behind the live meeting. All right. This is probably the last time on Zoom. We have some exciting news that's coming out on social media and official town memo, but we are going to be returning to open town hall and open town offices as of the June 1st. So this will likely be the last remote participation meeting that the board has. We have been working with TCTV to make sure that we can not only go back to in-person meetings, but that we can retain some of these awesome technological advancements that we've made within our community. So there still will be YouTube, and there still will be the use of Zoom for our guests and sharing information. Having said Zoom, here are a couple of the rules of the road for the use of Zoom. It's our last time. Please use video when possible. The public does want to see who's speaking. Although if you're waiting for your agenda item, it's better to have the video off until it's your turn to address the board. Use the mute feature when not speaking. TCTV and I can place any and all on mute, but it is much easier for you to control your own mute button. If you do wish to speak, you can use the raise hand feature in Zoom. You can actually raise your own hand if you're using a camera, or you can politely break in if you are only connected by telephone. I mentioned that 195-page agenda packet. If you'd like to see any part of that agenda packet or a map of the area that we may be talking about for several of the things that we have tonight, please request of me. The town administrator also has the ability to share documents. We can put them up on the screen, and those with their massive flat screen TVs at home will then be treated to some of the meeting materials. This will help everyone stay synchronized and, like I said, be helpful to the viewing public. Okay, that is the opening of the meeting. This is a special meeting, as it is our organization meeting for the board, for the select board. We did have one chair up for the election, and Mrs. Julie Richard did win that seat. I know that she may not be with us tonight, as that she for an illness. So we will go forward with the organizational actions that we have this evening, and that we will be appointing a chair, a vice chair, a clerk, and then several liaisons to boards and or committees. And then we will adopt our meeting schedule, any minutes that we may need to add into the record, any citizens input, and then we're going to jump right into some of the bigger items that we have tonight, which is a continuance of the public hearing on Gavin Road gravel permit. And then we also have Mr. Roselli with us this evening. No, I'm sorry, I looked at the wrong name. I looked at the legal counsel. We have Mr. Roselli also with us this evening to go over the financial management audit that we had from this past year. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into our organizational actions. The first items that we have tonight are to elect a chair, a vice chair, a clerk, and then we have capital planning, educational liaison, Montechusett Regional Planning Commission. Those are all liaisons to those committees. And then to the Templeton Elementary School Building Committee, Templeton Development Center Visioning Committee, and the Senior Center Oversight Committee, some of which may be dissolved soon, but they are still standing committees, and we have to appoint the liaisons to those. So I would first ask that we take the larger items, and I would entertain any motions that we have for chair, vice chair, and clerk.
Mr. Chair, I nominate you, Mike Curry, to continue as chairman of the board.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to continue Mike Curry as the select board chair. Any further discussions? Okay, hearing no further discussions on the motion to continue Mr. Mike Curry as the chair of the select board, how would you vote? Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I believe I can vote yes as well. That would be a unanimous vote to keep me as chair. Next item is vice chair. I would accept a motion to nominate a vice chair.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead, Jeff.
I'd make a motion to appoint Tim Toth as Vice Chair of the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? I'll second that. All right, we have a motion and a second for nomination of Tim Toth to the vice chair position. Any further discussion?
Anything from Tim?
Say again?
Is there anything from Tim? How does he think?
I will accept the nomination.
All right, hearing nothing further on the motion to appoint Tim Toth as the vice chair to the select board, how would you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
I believe I can vote yes.
And I vote yes as well. Congratulations, Tim, Vice Chair. And last is clerk, or not last, but for the organization of the board, I would entertain.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Jeff.
I make a motion to appoint Selectman Griffiths as clerk of the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. Any further discussion on Terry Griffiths as clerk?
Jeff, you beat me to it. I was going to nominate you.
All right, just checking our audience. And if there's no further discussion on the motion to make Terry Griffiths the select board clerk, how would you vote, Jeff?
Yes,
Terry?
Sure.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. All right, that's a unanimous vote for Terry as clerk. Congratulations.
When the seatbelt sign is on it, just in case there's
Kelly,
turbulence. Keep it on
Kelly, you got a
whenever
hot
want.
mic? Thank you very much. Okay, and we have a few, I'm going to scroll down in my packet just to make sure I get the right one. I would accept a motion for our capital planning committee liaison. Our previous was Terry. I'd make a motion.
Motion to appoint Jeff as, well, he's on Montechusett too, though. So.
Yep. So I'm on page 6 of the agenda just to kind of show you. Holly gave us a grid for which committee names that we needed liaisons for. 2 of them, I believe, had needed 2 total members required. So you can see who was serving before. I'd make a motion. I'd make a motion to have Tim Toth as our liaison to the capital planning committee.
Second.
second,
Okay, I have a motion and a second. I know that just with some discussion, I know that the MMA guidance that we use to try and keep some consistency, but it also in terms of trying to match people up with what they've been interested in otherwise. So not a bad thing. Any further discussion on Tim Toth to be our liaison to the capital planning committee? Okay, on the motion to make Tim Toth our liaison to the capital planning committee, how would you vote, Jeff?
yes,
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. That's a unanimous.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
if I may, just real quick.
Sure.
And this is a, maybe, this is a technical thing, but our bylaw it calls it a capital improvement committee. It's a capital planning bylaw, but it is it's only been in the annual town report one time as capital improvement, but it's like calling the advisory committee the advisory board. It's just,
Okay.
it should be technically correct and it should be consistent, and hopefully that
I agree.
bodes well with confidence in the townspeople. It's a hair
I
splitting,
would-
but I'm just,
I would make a motion to amend my appointment motion to have Tim Toth being the liaison to the capital improvement committee.
second,
Okay, I have a motion and a second to amend the appointment to the capital improvement committee. No further discussion on the motion to amend the wording on that appointment. How would you vote, Jeff?
yes,
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thanks, Jeff, for that clarification.
I also have one further question, if I may. The bylaw calls for 2 resident at large. do we have interest forms to appoint them? Or has anybody submitted them? Because again, the bylaw states that we're supposed to appoint people to the Capitol at the first business meeting of the board. I'm just wondering if, do we have residents who had expressed interest?
Adam,
Did
if you
we
could
have
answer that
anyone
question, Adam.
submit
As
it?
far as I know, unless Holly receives something outside of me, there is no interest as of yet for those 2 spots. One of them, we're still waiting back to hear if they want to be reappointed as under the board's direction. So at that point,
Hence
So
add some backup to that DOR report about committees and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so we had Justice Graves and Tom Smith was on from advisory. Perhaps that he would want to come back and serve in that capacity. So maybe we can send something out. I hear what you're saying. Adam,
Yeah, it's just again, it highlights how hard it is to get people to be on these committees that were created by a town meeting vote. I mean, it's not like, the Board of Selectmen created this. It was a town meeting per recommendation.
did Justice win his seat on the school committee?
Yeah, he did.
He
make it
did.
on the school
Okay.
committee.
Perhaps.
Dad is the moderator. His dad signed up a moderator. He's working on his mother, and he's potentially offering his brother.
Okay.
But hopefully his peers will see what he's doing and take some initiative.
Okay. Again, good point, Jeff. Adam, if you could keep a laser focus on that. I know that Holly's been doing a lot of work trying to garner who's staying on and what the intent of people on, but the business of government's not going to slow down, as Jeff was just alluding to. Here we are in our organization meeting, and we're already behind the 8 ball to get the proper people in there. All right, let's continue on. I would make a motion to have Terry Griffiths as our educational liaison for NRSD and Monty Tech.
Second.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that appointment recommendation? Hearing none, on making Terry Griffiths the educational liaison for Narragansett Regional School District and Monty Tech, how would you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Okay, we have the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission. I'd like to make a motion that we keep Jeff Bennett as our liaison to the MRPC.
Second.
Thank you for that second, Terry. Any further discussion? On the motion to keep Jeff Bennett as your liaison to the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission, how would you vote, Jeff?
Almost. Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Jeff, as always, you're providing comic relief for Carter. I think he really's missed you that way. Now, I might be confused on this next one. If Jeff is our liaison to the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission, I see that on our list, we have Montechusett Metropolitan Planning Organization. Does that fall under that, or is that a specific appointment?
It's a different thing. It's more like the state, and it goes along with the MPO. It's keeping track of like Royalston Road project, the state tip
Okay.
stuff and things. And Bob Sozak, we kind of piggyback. Sometimes we're both there. Sometimes he goes when I have a selectmen's meeting, because sometimes
Okay.
it's on a Wednesday, and sometimes I go when he can't make it.
Okay.
So,
Then
They
I
are
would
different
make,
things.
then I would make a motion to keep Jeff Bennett as the liaison for the Montechusett Metropolitan Planning Organization.
Second.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks for that clarification, Jeff. On the motion to make, to keep Jeff as the Montechusett Metropolitan Planning Organization liaison to the select board, how would you vote, Jeff?
Sure.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. I believe we've got two more. We need 2 seats for the Templeton Developmental Center Reuse Committee. Again, we
Good
have
job for Carter.
on it, we've had myself and Julie Richard. I would make a motion to keep. Well, I don't know if I can make a motion to nominate myself, so I'll leave that to the board for a recommendation for those 2 seats that we need.
Chair, nominate to keep it as it is, you and Julie as the Templeton Developmental Center Reuse Committee liaisons.
Okay, I have a motion.
Second.
Thank you, Tim, for the second. On the motion to keep Mike and Julie as the liaison to the Templeton Developmental Center Reuse Committee, how would you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. And Adam, I know that it may be on an agenda for a later meeting about being dissolved, but the Senior Center Oversight Committee is still it's still standing. So do we need to appoint to that committee at this point?
As far as I know, right now, we're looking at dissolving that committee.
But it's still standing.
If you would like to appoint, the board can do so.
Okay. I believe Julie and I sat on the that on the last one. So to the board, I would recommend that we, until it's dissolved, that we still have our liaisons appointed by our organization staffing.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Tim.
I would recommend and nominate you and Julie to continue to serve on the Senior Center Oversight Committee, because as we have in our notes, that is planned to be dissolved at the fall town meeting.
Okay.
That's interest to continue that.
All right. I have a motion.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Mr. Duple, you have a hot mic, just to let you know. All right, on the motion to appoint Mike Curry and Julie Richard to the Senior Center Oversight Committee, how would you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. I would also make a motion that all appointments that we have made this evening would have a termination date of our next organizational meeting in May of 2022.
Just a quick question. Do I have to get sworn in for the educational liaison? Is that a sworn in position?
Well, it's an appointment from the board, so I don't believe that you need to be sworn in.
What's the building committee one?
Okay, so that until that's dissolved, we should keep that as well. If we need to do that in a moment, actually, we'll do that first. Would you, Adam, do you think that that's also proper to do?
I would say so.
Okay. And who is on that before?
Him and I, but it's not one more meeting left.
Okay. I would make a motion to appoint Tim Toth and Terry Griffiths to the Templeton Elementary School Building Committee.
Second.
Okay, thank you for the second. On the motion to appoint Tim and Terry to the TESBC, how would you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. And I would make that motion that all liaison and positions that we have voted on tonight would have a appointed until date until the next organization meeting of the select board in May of 2022.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Tim.
I would add to that unless those boards are dissolved prior to that by their nature.
So amended. Do I have a second?
Second?
Okay. On the motion to have these appointments last until the next organization meeting in 2022, or until such time that those any of the committees or boards are dissolved, what further discussion would you have? Okay, hearing none. On the motion for the termination date and with a consideration for the dissolvement of a committee, how would you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that takes care of all of our organizational actions. The only other item is, if you see in your packet, you have your FY22 meeting schedule. We'll go ahead. We need to formally adopt that as well. I did not go through it with a calendar. I'm sure that we can make amendments along the way, but I did not see anything that stuck out. It looked like it allowed for holidays and any other considerations that we have on when those meetings may fall, and so that they were shifted from a Tuesday to from a Wednesday to a Tuesday. But it does follow what we've done in the last year is eliminate the workshops, and we wind up having our 2 business meetings per month, unless we add more because of budget season or what's the word I'm looking for? Our retreat.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the FY22 meeting schedule as presented.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the FY meeting schedule as presented in the packet. Any further discussion or observations? Okay, hearing none. On the motion to approve the FY22 meeting schedule as presented in our packet, how would you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, we have 2 sets of meetings to review before any citizen input, and then jumping into our business for this business meeting. We have meeting minutes for April 28th, and then we have consideration of the executive session minutes for the same date, April 28th.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Tim.
seeing no errors or omissions, I move we approve the minutes of the 4/28/21 business meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any other observations on that set of meeting minutes in your agenda packet? Okay, hearing none. On the motion to approve the minutes as presented for our business meeting of April 28th, how would you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. And we have consideration of the executive session minutes for April 28th. I would entertain a motion for that as well.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Tim.
I move to approve the minutes of the executive session on 4/28/21 as presented and not to be released to the public at this time.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on those executive session minutes and the consideration for them not to be released to the public at this time? Okay, hearing none on the motion to approve the minutes and for them not to be released to the public at this time. How would you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Okay. We have our live chat up, and I did miss a comment from Mr. Bob May he said only one is listed as needed on the volunteer forms. I'm not sure which committee he might have been talking about. Sorry, I missed that comment, Bob.
He's talking about capital planning committee or
Okay.
capital improvements committee.
Okay. On the volunteer forms, I understand. All right. And let's move into citizen input. I'm watching the YouTube chat for anyone pasting in anything on there. Is there any citizen input for this evening? I would mention, I believe I mentioned it in the prior meeting that we had at 5 o'clock with the advisory committee. In light of where we are as a state, as a community, as a state, as a country, with the COVID-19 state of emergency, we are closely following the state's guidance, and therefore town hall and town offices will open as of June 1st. We will also be going back to in-person meetings. TCTV has endeavored to keep some of the capability that we have achieved along the last, I don't know, 12 to 14 months. So we're going to be employing some new technology to be able to keep our live stream going. So we will be, this is the last time you're going to see the Brady Bunch Square with the select board and or guests. However, we are going to continue to use Zoom for those that are remote. If you're looking at, I can see on the YouTube that we have a lot of names up on the screen, so you don't see the same screen that I do. We have a lot of people participating remotely. We will have in-person meetings, but we will utilize the Zoom platform to ensure that we have the maximum participation of guests and those that have business with the select board. I can offer also that at our June 9th meeting of the Board of Selectmen, we'll consider the state of emergency. And I believe our COVID numbers are relatively low. I believe the other day there was one, and I believe today's or the last report was 9, most of which are due to the nature of infections in terms of households or otherwise. So the health department in Lori Witta is continually putting out the guidance on what it's going to look like in town hall, all of the CDC guidelines and otherwise. She still will publish those reports that not only get placed on our town website, but echoed on our social media Facebook site as well.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Tim.
it is with sadness I draw attention to the loss of a longtime town resident, Barbara Payne, beloved wife of our former fire chief, Richard Payne Sr., mother of our current deputy fire chief, Richard Payne Jr. There was a strong showing last night by the police and fire department at the funeral home. There were another showing today and the internment this afternoon. May she rest in peace.
Tim, I you know, the Payne family, I definitely share in their sorrow. I think you and I had talked about, you know, what we can do, and I would like to offer a moment of silence for Rich Payne's mom. So if we could all just take a moment of silence in her remembrance. Thank you. May she rest in peace. And Tim, thank you very much for your moving words. Is there any other citizen input for this evening? Okay, hearing none, we are going to jump into new business. I can see in my agenda, Adam, that there are no introductions of or appointments for new employees this evening.
That is correct. We plan to have somebody for our next meeting.
Okay. All right, then I would like to make a motion to open and continue the public hearing for the Gavin Road gravel permit at 7:07 p.m. on May 26th.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any issues? Okay, on the motion to reopen or continue the public hearing on the Gavin Road gravel permit, how would you vote? Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. I just scared my cat, sorry. All right, so the public hearing is open or continued for the Gavin Road gravel permit at 7:07. Let's see who we've got online. And the petitioners on the side of the gravel permit, I can see Mr. Brem. I can see Karen, I did it again, Karen.
Hubeck. The Z is
Hubeck
silent.
Kylie.
Thank you.
And I've actually written it down a few times phonetically on my pad, but you can tell that I'm trying to keep looking at the camera. We've got Ryan Rossetti, Dale Kiley, Chris Worthy. Let's see, Joanne Burden. Joanne, do you have anyone with you this evening? Oh, you're on mute, but I only see you. I thought, go ahead.
Yeah, my husband is here as well. He's just not in the room at the moment.
Okay. And let's see, did I miss anyone else that has business or issue with Gavin Road permit, either in the pro or con? Douglas Duple, Mr. Duple, which issue are you on for this evening?
I'm here for the Templeton Fish and Game Club.
Oh, okay, thank you, sir. I just wanted to confirm.
Mr. Chair?
Yep, please go ahead.
So if you wanted me to, I could say the board decided to continue this hearing to get more information on the zoning confirmation, which Attorney Rossetti and Attorney Harrington prepared a memorandum, I believe it was signed off by Town Council, which is included in your packet. Also, the culvert condition on Gavin Road, we followed up with an email and George went down there from the Conservation Commission and noticed, already shared it with you via email, but I'll read it here for the hearing.
Okay.
Here's what we saw at the culvert on Gavin Road. One, on the left side, driving up from Royalston Road, the header is leaning in toward the water, and it appears the top of pipe is partially crushed. Two, the bottom of this pipe is rotted away about 6 to 8 inches up from bed of stream. Three, the metal pipe on the other side of the road is rotted the same way, but is worse from what we can see. And four, the guardrail needs repair or replacement. This will eventually need replacing, and it should be with a cement box culvert. So that's on the culvert condition that the board wanted further information on. And also the
Adam,
oversight.
who compiled that? I'm sorry.
Oh, that was compiled by George Andrews from the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
And then also followed up on oversight of the site plan approval. And I sent that email off to all you. Lori sent me an email. I had the opportunity to speak with the planning chair and he clarified who and how the oversight happens at the proposed gravel site. Once Templeton LLC has been permitted and has been in operation for 9 to 12 months, the Office of Development Services will schedule the first of the annual inspections at the expense of the permittee. At this time, Whitman and Bingham are the peer engineers whose services the planning board will be employing. I hope this answers your question, Lori Weta.
Okay.
So I just wanted to follow up the board with that information. Attorney Roselli, if you wanted to kind of go over the memorandum that you prepared with Tom Harrington.
Sure.
Yeah, if I could just break in for 2 seconds, just from a hearing perspective. So anyone watching or for any of our guests tonight, we're from a hearing perspective before we go into petitioner and anyone against the project. We're reviewing the do outs or the action items from our last incidents of the public hearing. I just want to make sure everyone understands why and how you're adding in, the town is adding in that information. Thank you, Adam. I'm sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
Sure. So the basic finding of the memorandum, other than the confirmation that the gravel pit would be properly zoned, was the idea that the bond amount needs to be an amount calculated based on evidence to cover the performance of any conditions imposed. And particularly here, we would probably be looking at the reclamation cost, but any other conditions as well. And so it's our recommendation that the applicants would put together a proposal for the cost of the reclamation or any performance conditions, which the select board can review with the help of a consultant or in particular, the person that the planning board is working with to make sure that it sort of comports with what the planning board is seeing as well.
Thank you. You can see on the screen, I'm just going through the memo. Okay, Adam, from the action item or the legal review, is there any other outstanding? I've got in my notes, question on zoning. We've answered that. Question on the culvert and the condition of, we can talk about that. You made a recommendation for the reclamation plan, and we'll get to the petitioner in a moment. And then also supervision. I know that we had something about a speed restriction as well, but I think that's something that is entirely workable within consideration. Whatever motion is made for the permit, I believe that we can cover a speed recommendation, especially with any question and answers that we may have within the next few minutes or the time that we need to be able to sufficiently answer that question. Okay, well, thank you for the do outs or at least the action items that the board had asked for. For the rest of the board, did I miss any of the outstanding questions? Again, not deliberating, but seeking the information that we needed that we did not have from the last incidents of this public hearing. Not hearing anything from the board, I'll go ahead and turn it over to the petitioner to basically restate their position. Either Jeff or
All right,
Karen.
if I
I'm not
could,
sure
Mr.
who's.
Chairman, I'll get started.
All right, go ahead, Jeff. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, I'm trying to, all right, I'm going to try to speak. First of all, I'm in a car in a thunderstorm. So you keep bugging in and out, and that's not your fault, that's my fault. So I apologize for that. I am attending my first in-person meeting since this pandemic started, which is right behind me in the building, and I'm outside of my car. So I apologize if I bug out or you cannot hear me. I just want to introduce myself and say thank you for going through the town action items. And Karen also has, one of the other items you had asked for was an operation report from Karen. And she put that in the form of a pile of conditions that was submitted to you, and I'll sure she's going to go over them as well. And that's all I have. I don't think there's any engineering technical items that remain, but I'll be here as long as I can until I get called into the meeting behind me.
Thank you,
Please
Jeff. I
tell me you
appreciate
heard
it.
that. Okay. Yep. So I'll turn it over to Karen at this point to go through her proposed conditions.
Thank you, Jeff. And thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did have a chance to email Holly earlier. Were you able to get a copy of the proposed order of conditions? If not, I'd be happy to obviously read them.
Holly just sent those out, Karen.
Got it. I'll put that up. All right, Karen, I've got it up on the screen. I hope the Zoom level is
Yes.
okay if you want to walk us through that.
Yes, thank you. So really a lot of this, I kind of listened intently to what the board had issues on as far as the pit itself and along with the people that were on the meeting last time. And so I'll start from the top. So the first thing, hours of operation shall be limited to 7 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. There would be no operations conducted on weekends or federally observed holidays. Number 2, there would be no retail sales of material at the site. All materials would be loaded on trucks, which would be owned, rented, or hired by applicant and removed from the premises. Number 3, trucks shall yield to any other vehicles traveling on Gavin Road when entering or leaving the site. Truck operators shall communicate via radio so that only one truck at a time is traveling on Gavin Road. Trucks shall not use, number 4, trucks shall not use engine braking systems commonly referred to as a Jake brake when entering or exiting the site and shall observe all posted speed limits at all times. Number 5, applicant shall control dust and or mud by A, paving the entrance into the site, B, installing and maintaining a rumble strip of clean stone as a transition from paved entrance to the gravel surface, or applying water and other approved industry methods to reduce the dust. Number 6, applicant shall install a new gate at the entrance of the site, post signage to Mine Safety and Health Administration standards, and provide the Templeton Police Department with a key to the gate for emergency response. Number 7, applicant shall ensure that all employees or agents on the site adhere to all local, state, and federal laws and prioritize site safety measures. Number 8, applicant shall expose no more than 5 acres at any one point in time throughout the entire permit period. Reclamation will continue in unison with mining. Applicant will seed in the spring and fall when germination is best. Number 9, applicant shall maintain a surety bond to cover the cost of completing reclamation in the amount established by the permit granting authority. Number 10, in addition to any inspection conducted by state or federal authorities, the applicant shall be required to submit to an annual compliance inspection conducted by the town officials authorized to carry out the inspection by the permit granting authority. Applicant shall cooperate and facilitate this annual inspection. There was one other that I did think of after the fact that I'd like to state, and that would be as far as the reclamation, that there would be no sludge or any type of products brought in for any reclamation.
Right, and I think, Karen, that we had brought that up a few times as it had been an issue before, or at least on the forefront of people's brains, and just reminding that we had installed that bylaw to make sure that we had that that protection with specific to sludge. Okay. Thank you for all of these order of conditions. Let's see. let's see. Are there any board questions of conditions, or would there be any questions of these conditions? Is it a complete list?
Mr.
I want to
Chairman,
go ahead.
I think Terry has her hand up.
Oh, Terry, please go ahead.
Yeah, the previous operators didn't do the reclamation, so there was some discussion on how that's going to get resolved. The previous reclamation, because the loam and topsoil was sold and not reserved, which is a shame because now we have to take what we get instead of the original, which does not necessarily help the flora and fauna out there. It may change it a bit.
I agree with you, Terry, from like a question and answer perspective. I know the 66 citizen petition that was signed to bring their conditions, really a summation of their conditions, did specifically speak to that aspect. And I know that when we talked, informationally, I know that on the back and forth, Karen had offered, from a condition perspective, they couldn't reclaim while at the same time they're doing their removal. I see that they're talking about the 5 acres, no more than 5 acres at a time, but reclamation needs to be done not in sequence, but because it would be detrimental to the actual operation as they got to drive through it, as we showed it on the map. So I understand the time phasing of it. Terry, you're bringing up also the materials for that. So as a question from the board to Karen, from a materials perspective, when you're ready to phase in the reclamation and you're ready to reclaim that the previously untreated, right? Basically that sore in the ground that exists now. From a materials perspective, can you answer Terry's question how that would be handled once that entire reclamation project is able to commence?
Yes, and we wouldn't be driving through all of it. There would be certain areas that would be to the far east that we would be able to oversee. And this is when I had reached out to Scott Kemp, who is a biologist with the Fisheries and Wildlife. That was part of the email that I did send to Holly, which was his recommendation as far as a proper seed mixture to be utilized on sandy soil. And we would be putting down roughly 7 to 10 pounds of that blue short New England seed. It's coated for moisture because it's in sandy soil. This is their recommendation to utilize in these type of applications. And I have worked with him in doing other pit reclamation and in the town of West Brookfield, which was a very similar situation. So that's how we know that it does work exceptionally well.
How about topsoil? That was the concern in the petition from the 66. So if there was topsoil removed but then sold, how would you get new topsoil? Is that not speaking so much about the seed, about what you're actually going to put it into?
Well, the seed itself is designed to go on the sandy soil. A lot of what's going on there now, and the reason that Fish and Wildlife wants this seed to be utilized is there's a lot of animals that are there that want sandy soil. The issue is if you brought in any type of topsoil or organics, those animals would lose their habitat that they have established there now. So utilizing this seed mixture that Fish and Wildlife recommends is what they would want to keep the habitat. It secures the soil, it stops erosion, and it's good for the animals that have homes there now. So there wouldn't be any type of topsoil to be brought in. The topsoil would be created by itself by planting the seed mixture, and then over time, it builds up its own proper organics.
Mr. Chair, I just had a couple quick questions.
I assumed that you had a follow-up question. Thank you. Go ahead.
So I would like to be able to read about that application, and I'm not sure, you know, I'd like to be able to see what the product is and read for myself what it, you know, and judge if it's safe and look it up, you know. I actually did look up, and congratulations to Karen on her excellent reputation with Bond, that she's a woman-owned company and they've got a lot of awards and stuff. So again, I want to do due diligence and check out the product that they would spread down and get some opinions on that. And I was just wondering if, maybe it's out of my purview, but who, like, is it the Hicks family that covers that because they didn't follow through in the beginning, or is it on her? Because, you know, I don't want to punish her for something someone else did. I like to be fair, even though this is a very difficult situation, you know.
Well, Terry, I don't, from a hearing perspective, I don't understand your question in terms of what Bond has proposed for order of conditions, or are you looking something specific from Templeton LLC?
I was trying to follow the,
okay,
who's responsible for the reclamation, you know, where Karen wasn't the original, I can't, I want to use the word perpetrator, but it doesn't.
Fine. I understand what you're
saying.
saying.
You know what I'm saying? It was Perkins, and they didn't do the reclamation, but it's Hicks' responsibility. So
Okay.
I just wasn't sure how that worked. I kind of wanted to know how that worked, you know, who's responsible, how that gets, you know, paid for. And then again, I would like to get a perspective on the actual product that they want to bring in place of what was originally there.
Okay, Terry, or Karen, or anyone from the petitioner side. So item number 9 in your order of conditions is applicant shall maintain a surety bond to cover the cost of completing reclamation in the amount established by the permit granting authority. Ultimately, what, and Terry, please stop me if I'm rephrasing what you said. I want to make sure that I get it right. Based on number 9 is very important to us from an information perspective, not so much from Bond's perspective, but we almost, I think Terry's asking for what is the opinion of Templeton LLC with respect to number 9, because that's what the residents are going to look at to say, we've already been burned once. Tell us how number 9 in that order, I'm sorry, the order of conditions, how does number 9 protect the residents? Either Bond or Templeton LLC. That's ultimately what I believe Terry is asking.
Yep. Great job, Mike.
Of course, Terry.
Karen, do you want to address it, or do you want me to?
I can start. So the bond is in place, obviously, for pretty much like you leave, and it gives the money to the town to do reclamation. The difference with us doing the work is that we will be doing reclamation while we're doing the mining. Perkins was in there, they didn't do it. There really wasn't oversight before. We're going to have several layers of oversight. So if I'm looking at having somebody come in on a yearly basis, they're going to see that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. If not, the select board or the permit granting authority honestly has the chance, even at that point, to issue a cease and desist and say, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And there's a bond in place to protect the town. We have bonds in all of our pits. It's part of our way of doing business. Nobody has ever called in a bond on bond. You know,
Touche.
it's our reputation.
And but we're still not addressing the past reclamation that wasn't done. So I'm not sure, I'm not hearing anything on Hicks end, you know, Templeton LLC on how they're going to write
Well,
that.
part of that was when I was going to go in there, obviously. A lot of the issues even now, there was reclamation that was done on some of the north and east side. The issue is the ATVs that have been in there. A lot of that has been destroyed. And that's why working with Fish and Wildlife, they came up with the seed mixture, and this would allow reclamation to go on in those areas that need to be reclaimed. We would then proceed with the mining in the new site. And as we go, we would be conducting reclamation. So we'd strip the topsoil, we mine, we grade, we put the topsoil back, and we seed. So if we're going in there, we can't have any more than 5 acres open, and the permit granting authority is going to have somebody come in and keep an eye on what's going on at the pit. They're going to see that that is exactly what we're doing. So we intend on fixing the areas that need to be fixed and then proceeding in a proper mining manner.
So to be clear, sorry, excuse me, Mr. Chairman. So to be clear, the previous reclamation will get done. That wasn't done.
And that was the whole point with me contacting Fish and Wildlife for an appropriate thing to utilize. The problem is you can't bring in organics, you know, you can't bring in any type of other material from other towns. This is the best way to do it. I did bring up exactly what his name is Scott Kemp. He's a stewardship biologist in the Central District with Fisheries and Wildlife. The seed mixture would be 7 to 10 pounds of native little blue stem, which is New England grade, per acre. He recommends that the coated seed for moisture and application rates, basically to see where you spread the seed. We have used this method for a few rocky grasslands and gravel pit restoration efforts with great success. And we did a pit in West Brookfield on Madden Road. So that is now owned by Fish and Wildlife. So that is an area that if you're interested, you certainly could go to and take a look. And I think that would help answer a lot of your questions. But the seed is nothing, it's just a recommended seed. That's it. There's no chemicals or anything else that are going along with it.
Thanks, Karen, for your answer. Terry, if you have any rebuttal to that, yeah, for item number 9, and I think I very much understand that the direction you were going. You almost asked 2 questions in there. How are we ensuring the prior? And from our last hearing, I definitely heard the petitioners talk through the plan to not only fix what they're going to take the materials out of, but the prior thing, the prior removal, and then our part in number 9 as they've presented it here. And there's definitely for discussion there in terms of an amount, but it's the amount to make sure that if things don't go right, that we're able to secure the funds that it would, where we could go tell the residents it didn't go according to plan, and we have the resources to perform reclamation. That's what item number 9 gives to Templeton, or at least the residents, in terms of it like an insurance understanding. I think the point of understanding both from Templeton LLC and bond, and I know, we kind of threw it to there, and then Jeff had Karen go first. but we need to make sure that we understand when that number is decided upon, it's decided upon because of what got us here. And that's not on bond. It's not a, you know, it's not a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not a decision on bond. It's basically making sure that going forward in this on Gavin Road, that we're going forward in the best way possible, understanding Templeton's bylaws and the rights of the landowners, but also that it's done properly with respect to the environment and the residents.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Terry.
So I just want to make sure everybody knows my audio cuts out if I have a video, but I also did due diligence. I talked to George, even though we sent that right up, and I got some input from Mr. Souza because
Could I, before you offer that, so where we are in the hearing, we had our action items, then now we have the petitioner. If you have questions for the petitioner, if you have additional information, I would offer that as the as a counter, or when Joanne Burden and her husband are able to speak against, or I don't want to say against, but basically the contra side of it. If you have new information with that, could you present it then?
Yeah, sorry, out of order. Okay, sorry.
Okay. All right, Templeton LLC in bond. Did you have anything further from the order of conditions? And if not, does anyone in the board have any questions about the order of conditions, or did you have any previously unanswered questions for the petitioner? Go ahead, Tim. Sorry.
I just want to make sure that I am understanding this in light of the fact the prior permit was abandoned and we didn't quite go the way it was intended to go. I think it's quite noble that Bond Construction is willing to put up the bond, but in my mind, this needs to be Templeton LLC and or the Hicks family posting said bond.
Karen or Jeff, any thoughts on that, or just we'll move through it?
We personally haven't honestly discussed that, how that would work. A lot of it would be what the board would want.
Okay.
I would say it's certainly, you know, part of what we do for as far as pits. So I would just yield to the board and ask what the board would want.
Okay.
So I just want to add one quick thing. Once the bond is posted and the amount is available, I don't really see how it would make much of a difference, like who the actual named insured is, essentially. That as long as the funds are there, that the bond is correctly posted, that it's just the kind of the result of the agreement between Templeton LLC and bond. And I mean, if you want something specific, we're happy to discuss it. It doesn't seem to make a difference to me as long as the bond is properly posted.
Chris, I can answer that. I agree with you. I really do. If it did not have the emotions tied to it on the Templeton side, you might have a lot of other people say, I guess you're right. You know, it wouldn't matter. But we want, I guess the town, the board and the residents need to make sure that they understand that they know that, you know, Karen's going to bring in her consummate group of professionals to perform the work. But I think what the residents are looking for is, do the board also have eyes on the people that are contracting bond when doing the work to say, this is the reason why whatever the board decides, that's whatever the amount is, it's for that purpose, to make sure that we don't go back into memory lane. But I agree with you, Chris.
All right. So absent some technicality from the company issuing the bond, I don't see that there'd be any problem with having Templeton LLC be named on the bond.
Understood. Tim, does that make sense?
Yes, it actually does. As I said, I think it's quite noble Bond Construction put it in their terms of operation, but I think this really does fall back on the property owner to post the bond, especially in light of the fact in the past, procedure wasn't exactly followed and it didn't follow our town bylaw.
Yep. I've thought a lot through, not so much a question, but a reaction to the order conditions that Karen sent over. A lot of the things, that petition of 66 residents definitely weighed. That petition was not a board, we don't want this, we want you to shut it down. It was, if you're going to give this permit, please, these are the conditions that we as residents need to have addressed. That's been my guiding focus. Our bylaws, that part's the easy part. The actual mechanics of our agreement, that's the easy part. To make sure that we're remembering our history, that we're making sure that we're ensuring ourselves for a job well done, really, to say it like that. Any other questions for the petitioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Jeff.
just a comment on the bond thing and, who's going to be responsible. I've looked through it and it comes down to the old adage that a ton of attaboys can be tossed out the window by one old boom. And I don't think Bond Construction wants their reputation dumped that way by one little gravel pit in Templeton. So I am of the thought and trusting that the bond is posted. They're doing the work. And if there's any issues, the bond would be there. But again, I just fall back on that old adage, and I don't see them wanting to do that, nor doing it, doing that. It's two different animals who did it or didn't do follow-up in the past versus who we have in front of us today. And I just don't see what happened back then happening again with this company, considering if you bother to check, their reputation. That's just my 2 cents.
Thank you, thank you, Jeff. See, Mr. Brem, go ahead. You have your hand up.
Unfortunately, Mr. Chair, the good news is you're in issues that I believe Karen and Chris can handle, but I've been called into my meeting, so I've got to go. I've been in and out the whole time. I pretty much get the gist. I apologize I have to do this, but thank you very much for hearing us tonight.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Any other questions for the petitioners? Okay, I'd like to move to a contra approach to it. This evening, I can see that we've got Joanne. Thank you for joining us again this evening. I'd like to offer Terry that first opportunity to offer some of her observations from that like a new information perspective. So if I could do that first, or Terry, if you wanted to allow Joanne to go first, I'll let you two decide.
I'll yield to Joanne. I don't mind at all.
You might say that. Good evening, Joanne.
Good evening, thank you. I have some new information that I'd like to give to you from the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife draft priority habitat map of rare species. The draft map has been revised to reflect new biological information as well as land use changes. I have that map, and the new map now has, which is a draft, part of that gravel pit, and I'm going to ask my IT person to help me share my screen if that's allowed, please. I have the pictures from Natural Heritage.
TCTV, are we able to make that happen? And I'm sorry, Joanne, you said it was a new map, but it was in draft?
It's in draft, right.
Okay.
But they've definitely have an area of that pit, in draft form. Part of it is now falling into the gravel pit. Small percentage of it, but it is.
And what would before we see the map, or if TCTV is working on giving you the share permissions, what is the impact of this draft map?
Well, I'm not really sure, but they've identified some rare or endangered species and or their significant habitat in the area.
Okay.
So if somebody can let me know when I can share. Oh, here we go. Casey.
Yep.
Okay.
You're all set.
It's my inbox. Me. What says me? Okay, that's one. This is a better one right here. So can everyone see that?
I can see it.
So that's the gravel pit kind of in the center. And the green is the draft area. And whatever the habitat is, it because they never tell you, they just give it letters and numbers, is a PH-1554. And it's falling into, if you look at it, an amount in the gravel pit there. I'm not sure if that's the area they're going to be working, but maybe Karen could double check with Fisheries and Wildlife on that.
Joanne, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Sure.
From what I can see, all of that would be outside of any work zone, if I'm looking at it correctly. You can see up in the top corner, there's a little bit up there where it kind of cuts in. Some of that area is where ATVs ride, that they've done some work, but we would be headed down towards to the west south, so we wouldn't be in the area that is shaded green. That wouldn't be in our work zone. And there is some wetlands up there, and that's obviously where there would be habitat. We're staying well outside of any type of habitat zone, and that's why we went to conservation, and they acknowledged that we were not in any type of conservation zone.
Right, I do understand that the extent of the work is not in any type of wetlands or riverfront area or anything like that. Again, like I said, I'm not sure what the species is that they, that uses that area for habitat. So, but if you're not going to be in that area, then that answers that question.
Yeah, I'm able to follow, reading maps for a lot of my life. I can see where the green is, and I can see where the proposed area is. Your eye naturally goes to that light area, which is like, again, I think you've characterized it as like where people ride ATVs. There's no vegetation. You can see that there in the light area. The area just south of that, not in the green, where it looks like, at least from this photo, where it's wooded. I think in the last hearing we had, one of my questions was about the wood, because I could see that their area proposed was mostly covered by foliage or by vegetation. So I think that's I keep thinking that's my screen, but I can see that area of vegetation it borders it, but it's not within, it's just due south of that light area.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's correct. And then the other area that's lighter, that's south of that, the gentleman's name, his first name is Red. I apologize. I don't know his last name, but that area is his land.
Bowman.
Thank you.
Well, I guess I'm not sure who, Karen, who you're using for a professional, but maybe just double check, because that's right. I know you're going to be removing a lot of trees. So hopefully it's not in that habitat area.
Joanne, if I could, let's see, I'm going to stop. This will automatically stop yours.
Okay.
I'm going to put it on my screen one. Let's see. All right. So what we're just showing, this property line was pretty much, and I think that is a drop. I think that there's a hill there. If I look at the site plans, this is the area that the work is going to be. Just looking at where your green area was, it almost kind of went along with that property. I know this property line right here is not accurate. It's supposed to be a little bit to the south. Karen, would you agree? This is the Access GIS that for.
Yes. Yeah, I do concur. Yep.
Okay.
The property line is a little south from what it should be.
Yep. But this line is what I wanted to kind of key in on, that it seemed to follow that draft map that Joanne was talking about. So for everyone's perspective, this is the area of work. This is part of the reclamation, Terry Griffiths. This is part of the reclamation plan, but this is their main effort for removing materials.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do you know why all this is important? I don't know if anybody's ever reviewed the book Bringing Nature Home, but you upset the apple cart in the food chain, and you wreak havoc. You lose things. Like, I know Canada lost, and some people may say, ha ha, Jefferson salamander, but that's gone forever. Everything is affected from the bugs on down. So when you bring things in from outside the area, and it's not the right things, the bugs can't eat, the birds, then they die, then the birds can't eat and they die. Part of that is, again, not matching up the proper food sources from the smallest nutrients in the soil all the way up the food chain. And it starts with the nutrients in the soil for the entomology.
And just to, follow up on that, out here this way, this is one of our larger open green spaces in town. We've just protected over 506 acres down the road. Part of my property was protected. We all border the outer of a state forest. So as everyone knows, the more contiguous open space that you have, the better. The less disturbance that you have, the better. I had 3 bears in my backyard this spring. So there is an awful lot of habitat, wildlife out here, habitat area for them. And, and I'm not saying that things can't happen, projects can't happen, but if you take away, you need to put back. But this, no matter what, will be impacting a significant amount of wildlife habitat area. So we're all a little passionate about it out here, trying to protect the lands and make them, the protected lands, as large as possible, because wildlife has lost so much area. But again, people own their property and they want to do things with them, and that's why they're going through this process. So, but besides somebody addressing or fixing the culvert, you pretty much don't have any other questions, except for if somebody can just kind of double check with Natural Heritage on that.
Joanne, I have a question for you. one of the things that you had mentioned was open space, contiguous open space. What is your understanding? What is the end game of what Templeton LLC and Bond Construction being, the doers for it? What is your view of what the end game is? Do you think it's going to be cut everything out, run, or do you think that they are going to be a partner in trying to preserve open space? I'd rather ask you that question. I mean, I know I can ask Karen and Templeton LLC, but I wanted to ask what you thought. What are they bringing to the table?
Well, definitely, I think very reputable company. They're going to come in and in mind, but they're going to restore. They're going to put back. So, that's significant. It really is. And I believe with everything that's been going on, that it'll be followed through, definitely. It's already degraded land. So, it is a good thing for it to be reclaimed. So, there's some positives there, but, there's negatives as well. So just try to proceed slowly and gently and take away, put back.
Thanks, Joanne. I appreciate that.
So,
Mr. Burden, any words of wisdom?
No, I'm pretty good.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Mr.
Okay.
Chair?
We are still in the hearing.
Mr. Chair.
Yep. Please go ahead, Terry.
So, the culvert is a big ticket item. And I didn't, in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, people will be landlocked. What will happen? So I did a little bit of, I asked Mr. Sozik, he does have steel plates, because, if that happens to go, those people will be landlocked. I've never had the experience of seeing a crushed culvert and what it looks like and what happens. And apparently steel plates go over it. But so my biggest concern is how long, because we don't, right now, to my knowledge, we don't have the money. That's not in our radar to even straighten that culvert out.
Terry, can I ask you, I've seen pictures of the culvert. Adam, if you need to reread any of the observations made by George Andrews, be ready for that. Could you tell me on the map, as I've got it on here, where is the culvert located?
Are you asking me? So go to Gavin Road, but you probably want to ask the Burdens. I know where it is, but the Burdens live on there.
Here's
So
here's the last property before Gavin Road goes into their property.
right. So Joanne, do you want to?
It's probably not even a quarter mile. Go ahead, go.
Well, run your arrow back up the road. Right, stop, come back a little bit. Pretty much right in there.
Okay.
You can see I think you can see the stream that goes
Right
under
there.
the road.
Right. Yep. Norcross Hill Brook right there.
Yep, that's where it is.
Okay.
So the house is at the bottom of the picture. So if you're looking at it, you're going down the picture. Those are the houses that would be landlocked.
No.
Oh, who would be landlocked?
The other house, it's up top. There's
up
two
top.
houses up top.
So there's two.
This is the entry to Gavin Road right here.
Okay.
And we're, basically by intersecting Norcross Hill Brook right there, as Mr. Burden was saying, it's roughly in this nature. I just wanted to be able to get an idea of the understanding. So we're not talking about a culvert that is within Templeton LLC's property. We're talking about, we're talking about something that's on Gavin Road that's going to wind up getting some heavy use. Terry, I whether I'm just reacting to what you're saying, I 100% agree with you, and that's got to be a consideration. for this, because increased use, more weight on it, it is definitely something that weighs on my mind as well. And therefore we should have some kind of condition to say, if we're not, I would say we're not looking for a brand new culvert, but we are trying to make sure that we're not making something worse. We're not trying to damage something, if that makes sense. To me, that's my reaction to the culvert, is to say, if it is a potential, if it is a risk, how do we mitigate that from, you know, from a team perspective, not throwing it on anyone per se, but if, you know, if we're talking about something that is going to be a critical consideration for work being done on Gavin Road, that is definitely something that we need to be able to talk through.
Would an impact study, I mean, could we afford to pay for an impact study, or how would that work? And, you know, again, how long could we live with steel plates over a culvert?
I thought I saw a hand. I'm sorry. Yep. Go ahead, Joanne.
Yes, just to reiterate on that, definitely that, you know, an engineer should be looking at this, a professional engineer. And I believe with the new federal guidelines that it's either going to be an open bottom culvert or it has to be bridged, because it is a perennial stream. So I believe it would fall under the federal regulations. Repairing it, I don't know if that's possible. I'm not an engineer, I'm not a culvert person, but please consider the people at the end of that road. They have no other access. So if something happens, they're stuck. No emergency vehicles can get out there. They can't get out. So, you know, I would really, to me, it should be looked at by an engineer that does that type of work.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Go ahead, Karen.
So we did go out there. I did forward photos that we did take last Friday to Holly. I don't know if you got that email or not also.
No, I have some photos from Mark Barrio. If I could bring up at least one of the photos, if we can all agree that that's the culvert that we're talking about, would that suffice?
Yes, that would be the east side.
Okay.
And it's really the west side that's worse. That side is holding together.
Oh. Yes, I don't know if you heard Dan, but he said it's the other side that's worse.
Okay.
The wing wall really needs to be repaired on the west side.
Okay. So Karen, that's the only resources I have for pictures.
So our thought in looking at it is that on the sides, it does need to be repointed, specifically on the other side, which would be the west side, because it's really just rocks that have been placed. There wasn't anything that was built up there. However, when that culvert, from what I know, when it was put in roughly 20 years ago, there was probably, I don't know, 50 plus trucks a day that Perkins had that was hauling out of there. When you look at the stability of the actual culvert itself, I did take pictures. There's zero collapse. The asphalt on top of the culvert does not show any type of settling or any issues. As the trucks are traveling over, or any type of vehicle, the amount of pounds per square inch that would be dissipating and going over that culvert is minimal. And that's because there's over 4 feet of depth of rock and compacted gravel over the culvert itself. So sometime down the road, I don't disagree that something would need to be done. With the volume of vehicles that we will be traveling, I do not see the culvert collapse or any calamity like that ever being an issue. I concur with the highway superintendent. If you do use road plates, then obviously that is a safety issue. You just surround it with some asphalt and then the trucks will drive over it. It's just another layer to suspend the weight. But if you look at the asphalt on top of the road, there's no indentation that there's any type of collapse that is going on. Mass DOT does have a team that would come out and would do an inspection. They're the ones who restrict any type of weight, whether it be culverts, clear spans, and they could do an inspection for you, and that would be at no cost.
Thank you, Kim.
Do you want to say anything?
Yeah, the culvert's fine. I took pictures down the end of it and it's perfectly round. Just that one wing wall is starting to cave in on that side. And it's just water erosion that's going to be the problem, not really the weight. It's going to wash out eventually.
So,
And
Mr. and Mrs. Burden, I guess my question to you about the culvert, we're talking about a lot of like engineering specs, you know, what could happen or otherwise. Let's move forward to whether it's the wing, as you said. Let's move forward to actually, my question to you would be, if something were impacted by the increased use of the road, and there was evidence that there was something wrong, would you, from the culvert perspective, and I kind of offer this to Terry as well, from a culvert perspective, if we had a condition that said if there was cause or if there was damage done to it, if Bond or Templeton LLC is part of it, an order of conditions to say that they would provide resources or services if something were affected, does that work in your minds? Basically, if you break it, you fix it. I wish I had said that at first. Sometimes I can get a little wordy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I agree with Karen. I don't think they're going to impact it that much. I think it's deteriorated over the years, and it's going to continue to get worse. But if it does wash out and collapse that wing wall, then they could, you could sink on that side if it does wash out.
Right, and so it's a danger. It could be a danger to their trucks and their truck drivers, as well. It seems to me that, in the least, some kind of repair should be done first. Safety reasons, and certainly the people at the very end that would have absolutely no other way to get in or out. They've expressed their concerns to me over and over and over again that, if that lets go, that's it. We're stuck. We can't go to work. Ambulance can't come. Fire trucks can't come. It's a big concern for them.
So I understand the answer to your question is really twofold. It's, you agree with, if they break it or cause a degradation to that culvert, that they should be, or help with it, or be a part of it to say, we'll fix what we break. But you're also bringing up as a safety consideration as well for the truck drivers that work for Karen.
For everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
Terry, you have your hand up?
So first order, Mass DOT wouldn't we as a board do due diligence and utilize Mass DOT's free impact study or whatever engineer coming out to look at that and say, this, can handle or can't handle, or, whatever they have to offer us is more than what I can offer us right now.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I would have something to say about it, but I'm not going to deliberate about it. But I would have a thought along those lines. But I understand what you're saying. Joanne,
I
you
had one
else?
Yes, just one more thing. Also, too, if something happened and one of those trucks loaded went over and that caved in and all of that material went into that perennial stream, that would really cost a lot of money to clean that up. and it would be very detrimental to the stream body itself.
Yep. Understood. All right, any other comments or questions for the again, I'm losing the word for it, the other side.
My only comment would be, who's responsible to get a hold of Mass DOT?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, usually the highway superintendent would contact them.
Okay. Yeah, it's our culvert. It's on our roadway. So we're talking about something that is our responsibility, but it's right in front of us. We know that we're talking about increased use over that road. So that's why we're having this discussion.
And I would just like to say the bond would be a partner.
Thank you. Any other proponents against? Okay, not hearing anything else. I'd just like to open up for a general Q&A if anyone else needed to go back. If there are no other questions, I'd basically finish up the hearing by asking the petitioners for their final recommendation. Basically Karen or Chris or otherwise. It gives you the final word before we close the hearing. This is it, folks. If you've got questions, not deliberation, but if you have got questions, this is it. Okay, either Chris or Karen, if you'd like to just give your final recommendation, and then I think we can close the hearing.
Well, Mr. Chairman, first of all, I'd like to thank all of you for giving us this opportunity. And I would like, to ponder for you to take under consideration letting us establish a permit for Gavin Road, please.
Thank you, Karen. I very much appreciate that. And thank you to everyone that has been a part of that. I think collectively we're up to about close to 4 hours for the hearing. So if there were no further questions or otherwise, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing for the Gavin Road gravel permit. Any other discussions? We do have the proposed, everyone should have the proposed order of conditions that Bond Construction had sent. Very much appreciate that. Any other words? All right, on the motion to close the hearing, how do you vote? Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. This public hearing is closed as of 8:14 p.m. Okay, so we've got a closed hearing. Any deliberation at this point? If people need to consider the order of conditions, I would definitely. We're outside of the meeting now. I had a couple of conditions, some of which were basically met by Bond's. How many is that? 10. They had 10. One of them is kind of number 9. We have to talk about cost for that bond. I think we had an initial figure in mind, but I think it should be higher than that, given the sensitivity of, again, not pointing a finger at Bond, but basically how this has been a multi-year effort, and that we want to make sure that the citizens have faith in the permit issuing authority, that we're aware of the resources required should something not occur or go according to plan. we can table, we can talk about order of conditions if you need more time. Terry, I know that you had a lot of things to consider this evening.
Yes, sir. So if we table it, we'd have to have another public hearing.
We do not need to have another public hearing. We've basically closed it. The hearing gives us all of the information that we need in order to deliberate and make a decision on the permit. If we voted on it tonight, I would consider the 10 orders of condition that Bond has given us. Number 9 would have been already an order of condition that we would have had as a select board, so we could deliberate and talk through a number. Our initial bond was $25,000. I think it should be in the order of $50,000 to cover a reclamation plan. And that is in addition to, let me look at my notes. That is in addition to a recommended $5,000 to be held in escrow for the DPW director to inspect the final condition of the property. It's also a condition would be a consideration of the $1,500 fee for the 3-year permit. On the subject of the culvert, I very much appreciated the discussion and the information that we had. I would use language in a condition where it would be provide adequate resources and services to repair or return to good repair the concrete or stone culvert along Gavin Road. That language, if we wanted to also put some language pending the review of Mass DOT, I think that would be just as fair. But to hear Karen say that they would be a part of a solution should something need to be done to shore it up or to break what they fix, I think the way that I worded it, I think does that for us. They talked about the order conditions that we have talked about site access and the right people to do that. So I think the supervision is covered by the order of conditions that Karen sent to us. Is Joanne still on? Can anyone tell me the speed limit on Gavin Road right now?
There is no speed limit sign on Gavin Road, but I don't really think anybody really goes much over 30.
If we added a speed restriction, thanks for that,
Sure.
Joanne, I appreciate it. So to the members of the board, if we installed a speed restriction of, I don't know, 20 miles per hour?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Tim.
I think that would be a prudent speed restriction, and if I'm not mistaken, if a road is not posted in the Commonwealth, where we are in a rural area, we are an automatic rural 30-mile-an-hour rating. I'd have to verify that with the chief of police, though.
Okay. So it would either be a specified number or it would refer to that. But I think putting a speed restriction not only helps Karen's dust problem, but even it might be a prudent risk mitigation measure for the culvert. I would also like to know immediate or as near immediate as possible verbal or written notification of accidents or negative environmental impacts to the site to the DPW director or development services director. We want to know if something happens. And again, this is for the board's consideration. The failure to follow as an order of conditions, the failure to follow these conditions for either the grantor or the petitioner shall constitute a material failure of this permit conditional agreement and shall cause the forfeit of this permit with consideration to reapply or return the site to an acceptable reclamation standard with special attention to stormwater management conditions. Now, is these, I hope Dale's ears perked up when I said that. It sounded very legal in that way, but it's basically saying if you don't follow up your end of the bargain, we either want you to reapply, like Karen, you had said, in a cease and desist situation. That's language that I think that would be in my mind, sufficient for me to look at the residents and say, we've got your back. We want to issue a permit that is 100% their right to have, but we want the conditions that would protect a lot of the emotion from what has occurred. And then really Terry talking a lot about the environment and making sure that we're all good stewards for that.
Mr. Chair, speaking of that, could we also, I would like to get the name of the seed again, but also put something in there that, you know, we approve the seed that they're going to put down, that we look at it. We actually look at it, because if we don't look at it and we just accept it, that was part of the problem last time where people got heated because they actually looked at what was going to be put down before they let it be put down. So, you know, again, doing due diligence, no offense to Bond or the Hicks family, but doing due diligence, I think that's something that we need to just look at.
I got it, Terry. But so I got two questions. Is it possible to get a sample of the seed mix? And then who is the best person to look at a sample?
There's Worcester County Conservation. Maybe we could put it through the Ag Committee and see what they have to say.
I would like someone, you know, within Templeton. I don't want to try and contract stuff out.
Yeah,
Karen, is it possible to get a sample?
Or even just the ingredients, you know, the name of it again. I'd take the name of it again and run it by the Ag Committee. What do you
Certainly.
think?
The name of it is Native Little Blue Stem, New England.
Thank you.
So Tim, Jeff, Terry, how do you want to proceed this evening? If you heard, I think we have enough. I think what information has been presented us is sufficient. And then the conditions that not only that Bond is proposing, that I think that we should take every single one of them. I would augment number 9 or basically strike number 9 if we're going to cover what the bond is. If the board is good with that list, either we do something tonight or we compile all those into a singular document, and then we can vote on it at our next meeting. I'm kind of convincing myself that we should table this, consolidate the order of conditions to basically pull what Karen had presented with the ones that I've proposed that I think adequately protect the community. We could have that the DOT, and then Karen, if you could send Adam or whoever your point of contact is for sending us stuff. If it's Holly, you could send her the quick note blurb on the seed mixture. That way.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I wrote it down.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Adam?
if I can just check with Attorney Zeddy, just because the restrictions seem fairly strict. I just want to make sure it's all within our authority.
Okay. So what if we table tonight, we compile the complete list,
Okay.
the legal review prior to our next meeting, and that way I think Bond should have a pass at a consolidated list, and then we're able to talk about it on June 9th.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Tim.
I would just draw a point of order, and Karen added an item 11, and it falls right in line with our previous discussions about no sludge or bioproduct to be brought into the site.
Okay.
That was her verbal addition to the list that we have in front of us.
Even better to table and then consolidate that master list of the order of conditions.
Yeah, I'm just
That
looking
way
over my
Adam-
notes. I want to make sure we don't miss anything.
Copy. The board feel pretty good with that? I would entertain a motion to table until the June 9th meeting so that we may draft the draft the order of conditions, the consolidated order of conditions.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Only that, only that if you want to replace or repair a culvert, you need stone and gravel.
That you do. And probably some asphalt too.
Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none on the motion to table the Gavin Road gravel permit to the June 9th meeting so as that we can have a consolidated order of conditions. How do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
I'm sorry, amended with a legal review. Sorry, Adam. Jeff?
Yes, on your amendment.
Oh, thank you. Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. Thank you very much for Karen, Dale, Chris. I know Jeff is in his other meeting. Thank you for all of your hard work and answering a lot of questions. We'll I guess we'll reconvene on the 9th. I'll work with Adam to make sure that we get something over for you to review as well.
Will we
Thank you
be
very much.
in person, Mr. Chairman, for the next meeting? Or will we be?
We will be in person for that meeting, but like I said, as we started out, we will have the capability for Zoom as well. TCTV will have a 55-inch television as if it was a participant in the audience. So we'll be able to see pretty much the way that we are, except you'll see all of us in like a panorama. But it can be a hybrid, but we will be in person.
So Chair,
Yes, Adam.
so Attorney Roselli, did you get all that information?
Yep,
I'm gonna
I've got
send
it.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
We've
We'll
got
be ready to
we
review.
have Karen's that has 10, and then we have to add in Karen, if you want to just send that quick verbal that you sent.
I
And then-
will. I will add it and email it to Holly tomorrow, so she'll have number 11 added.
Okay, and then Ryan, I've got the ones that I read out loud for you to basically add in. Some are duplicitous. You'll see those right away. I didn't read through them, but I will send that to you as well.
Thanks.
Okay.
We'll take a look.
All right. Bond
Mr. Chairman?
Templeton LLC. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Jeff, go.
when Karen sends that to Holly, if she could just CC Adam as well, because Holly's on vacation until I'm not sure when. So just so
Okay.
it's not floating around in an empty thing.
I absolutely will.
Okay. All right, Bond Construction, Templeton LLC et al. Thank you very much for your participation this evening, and have a great night.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, we are on to a presentation. I think Adam sent me a quick note that Mr. Roselli had another commitment. Are we passing over an agenda item?
So what we would do with this one is just table to the 9th as well.
Okay. I know your hearts are broken about that. It actually gives you a little bit more time to read through that. I was trying to make my way through the tables. I read the entire document, but I think it gives me a little bit more time to kind of connect the dots, but ultimately a good audit. Okay, so we are going to pass over. Do I need a motion for that, Adam, to pass over an agenda item?
I would just motion to table to the June 9th meeting.
Okay, I motion to table the Roselli FY20 financial audit until the June 9th meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. How do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Okay, our next item is action relating to the town common use for a jazz concert sponsored by the Cultural Council. I can see that we've got Ken Longstreet on with us. Ken, I apologize for the wait, but we're up to your agenda item.
Yeah, my name is Ken Longstreet. I'm a member of a group called Bad News Jazz and Blues Orchestra. And we've been given a grant from the Templeton Cultural Council to do a free concert. And to me, the ideal location would be at the gazebo. in the town commons. So we're seeking permission to use the gazebo on the night of August 11th. It's a Wednesday night. The concert would go from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. And in case of inclement weather, we'd like to schedule August 25th as the rain date.
Well, first off, I think it's a fantastic idea, and I really applaud the efforts of the Cultural Council to make that happen. All I would have is my normal questions that I think Holly covered the majority of, about it being a cultural council event, therefore the town insurance would cover the event. Is that correct, Adam?
As far as I know, that is correct. We also have on here, Mr. Chairman, Jackie Prime.
Okay. Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Mike. Yes, you're correct. As a cultural council sponsored event, the insurance is all set with the town's waiver.
And our gazebo, we kind of, it's town property, but the Lions do a lot of care and feeding for it. I was wondering if anyone had mentioned that to the Lions, or if we had any kind of competing.
Yeah. I just have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. Go, Jeff.
And this is something that we probably should find out, and it really has nothing to do with this, is who actually owns that. If it's owned by the town, then if we want to give permission to use it, we give it. If it's not ours, then there's a whole list of things that need to be taken care of. But, once and for all, it needs to be figured out who actually owns that. So either it's town property and we have the say, or it's put there by another group, and then there's a whole list of things that, insurance, lease, that responsible for the handicap upgrade, all of that stuff. It's just, it seems like this comes up every time. That's either town property or it's not.
Jeff, I think, it's definitely town property, and we give permission. They have, at least from my understanding, have historically sponsored events, and I guess they've expended money to help along with upkeep for it. So we don't ask their permission. We just wind up saying, do you need their support for something? They may actually want to partner with Bad News Jazz. But I understand what you're saying. I think if we basically said whatever needs to be put in a policy book needs to finally be put in a policy book.
Because my point is, this comes up often, and it's like, I think it adds to confusion. Well, like, what are you going to ask them permission for, or check with them for if we own it, if the town owns it?
Yep.
I
think most of it's my fault, because I know that they take pride in helping out with the upkeep.
I get that. It's just, it's the permission part that I think is always, it just seems to come up all the time. Well, we better check. We just need, clarification and so forth. I mean, so people come to us and say, hey, we'd like to use this. And it should just be a thing of, yes, you can, or no, you can't. And in this particular instance, this is a Hoo-Ya event, and it needs to happen.
Absolutely.
Even on a Wednesday.
And to Jeff's point too, we own the land, so it's pretty much our property.
Can I ask a question? Does anybody know if there's power that's on 24/7 to that gazebo, or is there?
There's been other bands that have used it during like the Mac and Cheese Fest, Arts and Crafts. When they do the Halloween events, they're able to plug in. It's much like the opposite side for the flagpole. There's power there as well. So I'm 95% sure, 99% sure that there are outlets on there that basically have like a flip switch to basically activate the power, like a breaker.
All right.
Any other questions for Ken or Jackie? Yep, and TCTV just confirmed to me that there are multiple outlets. Okay, I would have moved to approve the use of the town common for the jazz concert by Jeff Gavoli's Bad News Jazz and Blues Orchestra, sponsored by the Templeton Cultural Council on Wednesday, August 11th, 2021, from 6:30 with some setup time, 6:30 in the evening to 8 p.m. To include setup and breakdown time. The common will be used from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. with a rain date of August 25th at the same times.
So moved.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Thank you, Terry. Any further questions, considerations? Put it on your calendars.
Yes.
Exciting stuff. Okay, on the motion for town common use for the jazz concert sponsored by the Cultural Council, how do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Ken, thanks for hanging in with us this evening.
Thank you.
Appreciate all your work.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie. I appreciate it. Cultural Council really won us over on that one.
Thanks, Mike.
If it's on August 11th, you have a meeting.
I might be absent.
That's horrible. Well, at least someone's looking at the calendar. Maybe we'll have to talk about that, Adam. Anyway, all right, let's get on with our agenda. I've got 8:37 on the clock. Thanks, Ken. Oh, you already dropped off. All right. Next item is action related to Sunday live entertainment license for Templeton Fish and Game.
This is Mr. Dupel. Doug?
Hi, Doug. How are you?
I'm good. How are you tonight?
Excellent. All right, I've got the live entertainment application. Again, Holly gave us the backdrop of permit, and otherwise, you're just looking to have Sunday from 11 to 10 p.m. bands, DJs, and this is for the summer. This is not just for a specific date, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Adam, when does it expire?
The board could add that in there.
I'm not sure we have an expiration date on there, or is there? I would think it'd probably be Labor Day, possibly sometime after Labor Day.
Okay. Is that when you plan on going until? Does that work for you?
That's our hope, yes.
Okay. Jeff, does that sound about right to basically put an expiration date of Labor Day?
Yeah, that's fine.
Could we actually go maybe a week after Labor Day, just so we have the Labor Day weekend available to us?
Oh, I understand what you're saying. Let me look.
I don't see it, so the board can add that in.
Mr. Chair, I have a quick question.
Go for it.
I was just wondering, Mr. Dupel, when does the club shut down everything for the winter? Is it October?
Well, the campground itself shuts down in the latter part of October. The outdoor club will stay open through the year on reduced hours, most of the weekend. So if we could get it through the end of the year, would actually be better, so we can have entertainment up at the clubhouse as the weather cools off.
Like September 11th?
Well, actually, could we do it to the end of December, and then that way we're just fully covered through the end of the year, and the clubhouse will be covered?
Yeah, if Holly was here, Adam, she may even say that it's an annual license.
Well, I guess that's what we're kind of looking for, I believe. Okay. Yes.
I just didn't know if it had an expiration or not. Sorry to confuse the issue. Doug, my next question, it goes to 10 o'clock. Have you ever had any noise issues or noise complaints?
To the best of my knowledge, no.
I just like the volume up a little bit so I can hear it at home. I'm just down the street.
Well, we'll ask the band to crank it up a little bit.
4th of July.
4th of July, we'll crank it up more.
That was my only concern, if there was any issue with Sunday night to 10 o'clock.
No, we are utilizing the lower pavilion more, so we'll be outdoors. during the summer. But once we've moved indoors especially, you don't even hear the noise outside.
Okay. For the rest of the board, I don't have any other questions. I'd entertain a motion to approve his Sunday live entertainment license for Templeton Fish and Game.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tim. Any further discussion or questions for Doug? All right, hearing none on the motion to approve a Sunday live entertainment license, an annual Sunday live entertainment license for Templeton Fish and Game. How would you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Doug, thanks for coming on tonight. Glad we had the chance to chat about it.
Thank you very much, and come to some of the concerts during the Sundays.
Good luck to you, sir.
Excellent.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Okay, let's see. All right, we're up to item 7G as in golf, action related to Lot D, Brooks Road. It's our right of first refusal.
Mr. Chair,
Yep, please, Adam, go ahead.
our deputy assessor, Lou and Roy, worked on this. Mr. Cranston is here today to give the board some feedback, and I'll leave it to him.
Okay, Mr. Cranston, who is he representing?
Mr. Cranston?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Matasewicz family, as stated in the application.
Okay, so you're representing them.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, as I understand it, lot 11.2, which is right on Brooks Road. It's right like to the south side of the pond, which is next to the clubhouse for the golf club. Yes? 11.2? You know what? I can bring it up.
I apologize. I'm not that familiar with the location of the lot.
Okay.
And I don't believe my client has the wherewithal to be on the meeting. That's why I'm here.
Well, fortunately, it's very easy to zoom in on it because it's the only golf course in town. Everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, here's 11.2. And as I understand it from Luann, is that in order to release, we have to give up the right of first refusal to purchase the property based on the conservation lien. And the intent of the, let's see, the intent of the owners is to sell it to a construction company that will then convert it for resident use.
Correct.
Adam, did I get that right? We have to give up the right of first refusal based on the conservation consideration, the lien on it.
As far as I know, that's correct.
I mean, it kind of bleeds into our discussion of affordable housing as well. We haven't had the money in the past to purchase properties to conserve that. We've taken steps through conservation. I'm sorry, not the Concom. We've taken steps to have that an account to be able to put money into it, but none at this time. If we give up, if we waive the right of first refusal, does the town lose anything in escrow or otherwise, or is it basically just a paperwork drill to remove the lien?
If you're asking me, it's a paperwork situation. You don't lose any rights. You only lose rights as to this specific property. The lien stays on the balance of the property.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Or
I have one, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Cranston?
I have one, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, yep, go ahead, Tim. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Looking at the attached documentation that goes with this, it's stating it's a lot size of 1.03 acres. I do believe 2 acre is our minimum building lot size in town. Correct me if I'm wrong.
For a residential property?
I believe there's different zoned areas. Some are 1 acre, some are 2. I'm pretty sure on that. Not 100%, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
I don't know the answer to that, Mr. Chairman, but I'm guessing that if the purchaser has done their homework to determine this is in fact buildable, given the $100,000 purchase price.
Yeah, and Tim, based on Luann's email, you just kind of laying it out to say this has to go to the board for our process. I would think that she would have stopped it. I don't know if Adam, if you have the same feeling. You know, she basically laid out, if they want to do this, this is what has to happen. And the board is basically that last signature to say, yep, we're waiving the right of first refusal. But I wasn't aware of that, Tim. You know, having grown up in, Marshfield on a 1/4 acre of land, I did not know that about Templeton. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, there is a plan attached, Exhibit C, which was signed off by the planning board. So I'm presuming they wouldn't sign off on that unless it was building lot. I believe it's an A&R plan. It says so, which means it has sufficient frontage and acreage for a building lot.
Okay. Tim, do we want to confirm that, or is the discussion of different?
Just like to confirm it, and to select board member Bennett's point, yeah, I do believe different parts of the town do have different requirements, but 2 acres is resonating in my mind, and I'm not sure why that number is popping up.
My knowledge, it is 2 acres. I concur with Tim. Let's make sure we do this right.
I'm gonna look at the property card. I know Luann might have been on this. Is she, are you able to text her? Because if we're not going to be able to verify it within this, we're going to have to table this to the 9th as well.
Yeah, I don't have her cell phone number.
Chairman, if I might make a suggestion that maybe you could vote on it subject to verification. That way you wouldn't have to postpone it.
Yeah, I think that would be prudent.
So subject to verification of zoning requirements?
Minimum
lot requirements, okay.
Yeah. You'd have to help me on that one, Tim, for like what the language would be.
I'm trying to look it up real quick myself right now as well.
Well, say what the condition is again. It's minimum lot size for residential property.
Yes.
Okay, so let's see.
It's under zoning bylaw, Article 6, dimension regulations. There are certain areas and certain either residential agriculture, business. There are 1 acre and 2 acre and 5 acre minimum lot size. I just need to find out what this area of Brooks Road is zoned in.
I'm thinking that this axis, I'm using the system that Luann uses. I just don't know how to read the property card.
Yeah.
So 11.2. I know that, there's 1,300. That means residential Land area and acres is there. I just don't know if zoning is included in this.
Let's see. Map sheet.
But I think that Paul's recommendation is probably an easy way to solve it, because it's either, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, it's either is or isn't. So if we put the condition that says, yeah, it meets that, it meets the appropriate minimum residential lot size, then a vote of the board tonight would, be easy.
Oh, I agreed. I just want to make sure that we have the proper lot size, and if we don't, and we can verify that, then we can take the appropriate actions.
Yeah, I'm just looking for that, and I don't see it.
We have a zoning map. It's just a matter of just checking on it. So,
All right. So Mr. May is trying to help us out. Thank you very much, Bob. He was saying R2 and R5. LYS. Sorry, Bob. I'm not getting that second message. It says LYS in R1 or 1 acre lot. And I know there's a way to figure out the layer here for zone. Oh, there it is. I think I might have it now.
I'm looking at the thing, but I don't see. I got it. He says it's in R1 or 1 acre lot. That's what Bob was saying. Yeah.
If green, I don't have the, again, I just can't confirm that green is R1, but I understand what Bob is saying. I think that we can come up with a contingent
Yeah, it is.
motion.
green is residential agricultural 1.
1?
It's
Okay,
1 acre lot.
got it. All right. Then I would move to waive the right of first refusal for the purchase of Lot D Brooks Road for the purposes specified tonight. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. Any further discussion on the waiving the right of first refusal for lot 11.2 or specified as Lot D Brooks Road? All right, hearing none on the motion to waive the right of first refusal for Lot D Brooks Road, how would you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Carrie?
Abstain.
Okay, Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes. That's 1, 2, 3 yeses and 1 abstention. Paul, it looks like we'll make sure that we sign all the appropriate paperwork, but you probably just need to come down, make an appointment with Adam, Holly, or Luann.
Okay, I appreciate that. And I must say, I appreciate the board taking all the time to check into that. Is very helpful, very much appreciated.
Yeah, and one of our advisory board members is watching, and maybe I'll get a little bit of education on how to use that software a little bit better.
Thanks again.
Appreciate it. Thank you for hanging in there. I know it's a long night. Thanks, Mr. Cranston.
I had extra time to work. All good.
Great. Okay, we are now up to the item H as in hotel, action related to wage and compensation study award. Adam, take her away.
This is a part of our community compact award grant of $20,000 that we received from the state. And as you can see here with procurement, you have to go out and request 3 written quotes for any supplies and services. We've done so, and the lowest quote that came out was the 17,000 here in front of you from DI Jacobs Consulting Company, and there's 2 other quotes that are attached within as well. So what I did is, because the board voted on the grant, I brought this forward to award the apparent lowest quote, which is DI Jacobs Consulting Company, in order for us to do our wage and compensation study.
I like their bid. I know that that's the recommended and the low bid, but I very much appreciated the specificity that they put into it. Something specifically that I keyed in on, was it the final report? Review. So we're getting review and update job descriptions and position titles, develop a classification. I know that it was all requirements to the bidders, develop a compensation plan. We got a I thought I saw the word manual somewhere. Maybe it was part of the final report. But again, I thought it was very thorough. I'm not sure what the rest of the board thought. At least we had 3 total, correct?
3 total. Yes.
Yep. So that's good. Sometimes we haven't been getting bids back.
Mr. Chair, you did see it's on the second page, review and development of a personal manual.
Yeah. That's
Personnel
what
manual.
I was looking at. Yep. Thank you, Terry. So 17. Is that what we had budgeted for?
We actually have 20,000.
Okay.
But 17,000 would be our lowest one.
Yeah.
I like underspending.
At least none of them went over.
Any further questions for Adam? If not, I'd entertain a motion to hand out an award.
And for me to sign a contract.
Mr. Chair, I move to award the contract for the wage and compensation study and personal manual to DI Jacobs Consulting Company as presented, and for the town administrator to sign said contract.
Thank you.
Second. Any further discussion? What's the period of performance, Adam?
There's a schedule on one of the pages within here. Everything stays on schedule. I believe it's 3 months, 3 or 4 months.
230 hours total.
Yeah, there's a schedule on one of these pages here. 3 months.
Okay. All right.
That's if everything stays on schedule.
Okay. Do you get any kind of kickoff or anything like that?
We would.
Okay. All right. I don't have any other questions. All right. On the motion to award the contract for the wage and compensation study and personnel manual to DI Jacobs Consulting Company as presented, and for the town administrator to sign the contract, how would you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. That'll be good to do. Okay, next item on our agenda this evening is action related to Green Communities Weatherization and Highway and Fire Department contract. Adam?
This is our first disbursement of Green Communities money. This, we had to go out and follow the procurement process, and in this case, we had one bid that came in at $35,132, which is below our first disbursement amount of roughly a little over $38,000 we have. And this would also allow for us to have change orders not to exceed 2,635.
Right, little one, little bit of room.
A little bit of room. But we would have, that first disbursement, we have to expend those monies before we get more of the green communities monies coming in. So it's like I did talk with a couple folks, and there's a certain time requirement within the green communities, but that could always be extended. So, which will give us time because we have to go out and procure each portion of this project.
Okay, one bidder. I look through it.
Yes.
This is the highway garage in Templeton Center Fire Station. Any questions, any further questions from Adam? Okay, then I would move to award the contract for weatherization at the highway garage and Templeton Center Fire Station to Energy Conservation Incorporated of Hanson, Massachusetts, in the amount of $35,132, and to authorize the town administrator to execute such change orders as are deemed to be in the best interest of the town, not to exceed $2,635.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further questions or concerns on Green Communities, the first disbursement and the contract going along with it? Okay, hearing none on the motion for the contract for weatherization, how would you vote? Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
I'm gonna say yes, but I didn't get a chance to look the company up. I'm just gonna say yes.
Okay. Tim?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. Just FYI, Terry, it was the only, I understand what you're saying, but it was the only bid that we had. So Adam would have had to go back to the old drawing board, and we had some time constraints on expending those dollars. Okay, we've got our next agenda item is action relating to vacation rollover requests. I believe we have, is it 3 or 4?
You have
2 from highway, 1
two,
from.
and then 1 additional. So you have 2 from highway and 1 from treasurer collector's
Okay,
office.
so we have 3.
3, correct.
And the request letters to the board are in your packet. Adam, do you have any recommendations before we do any kind of deliberation?
I believe all these folks worked extremely hard, and they just weren't able to take their vacation, as noted within their requests.
I know that we have been flipping back and forth whether we do payouts or we roll time. To the other members of the board, do you have any concerns on this methodology, or would you ever any other recommendations?
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Again, this is like the second time this fiscal year, and this has been reoccurring over a number of years. And we have in the personnel policy on page 22, it covers vacation. And it says all vacation time will be taken within 1 year of the anniversary in which it is granted and may not be carried forward into the next fiscal year. On occasions where an employee is required to forego vacation due to excessive workload or personnel constraints, the carryover may be permitted by the select board. And again, I've spoken to this before. My first concern would be, do all employees have given a copy of the personnel policy and so they can see this vacation thing. And to me, this is, it becomes a management issue, time management, management of these vacations. Department heads are responsible for their employees. So the new fiscal year starts July 1, okay? I would assume or hope or believe that each department should have like a spreadsheet, and you check with your employees, you know, seniority or however. For some departments, they might be only 2 people, but okay, vacation time. Do you have it? I need, when you plan on taking your vacation, you have 2 weeks, you have 3 weeks. You know, give me an idea when you plan on taking it, so he can report that and let the town administrator know, hey, if you plan on this, I got, you know, 3 people that are going on vacation for the first week in August, and 1 employee is extending, you know, 2 weeks into the second week of August. Department heads, on the other hand, they report to the town administrator. I plan on taking, I got 3 weeks vacation. I plan on taking 1 here, 1 there, and, you know, the next one. And the administrator keeps track of that. So if he's having a department head meeting or someone says, hey, can we have, well, no, he's on vacation next week. The town hall employees, you know, they all fall under the town administrator. And again, it's a simple management issue. Manage your time, manage your tasks. Town hall, the town is not going anywhere. You plan on taking your vacation, you get as much of your work done as you possibly can before you go on vacation. While you're gone, you know stuff is going to happen, things are going to come up. When you come back, you just expect, I got catching up to do. It's a recurring thing, and to me, it's a lack of management on the part of the town. It's, you have vacation, you have a responsibility to plan for it. The policy says vacation is rest and relaxation. You don't have to go anywhere to be on vacation other than you go home. So you're not at work. I know that's not always the best, but you know, you're on vacation by definition. This just keeps our policy. You don't have to take your vacation. We'll just keep carrying it over. I don't know how, if you can't get 2 weeks in this year, how are you going to get 3 weeks in next year? It's, to me, it's, you put a hard stop and say, you have vacation, take it. You need to take it. It's, that's why we give it to you, so you have time off. There's nothing happening that you can't take vacation. There isn't a big sinkhole in the middle of the town or anything like that. It's, to me, this is just a management thing that needs to be clarified to the employees. You get vacation, you need to take it. And, you know, the work will be here next week. It's just, it just keeps snowballing. And like I said, in the DOR meeting, we have policies, procedures, and laws and bylaws. The trick is you need to follow them or just tear them up and throw them away. And that is my 2 cents worth.
Thank you, Jeff. Terry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Terry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could somebody address how it impacts budgeting and, you know, how this whole thing, by not following the policy, how it impacts budgeting and how it what's the impact of not following it? There's got to be the rules in place for a reason. So how does it impact the overall picture of?
Well, Roland, you know, coming from Jeff's description to your, I'll let Adam, but I mean, I would immediately say the result is then people wind up having a lot of vacation on the books, So if you had, if you're, how much do the employees earn within a year?
It depends on their years of service
Okay.
by the policy.
Can you swag me a number? 3 weeks?
On after so much time, after 6 months to get 1 week, after 18 months to get 2 weeks. It's all over the place.
So Terry, if they already had 40 hours on the books and they want to roll it into the next year and they're not taking their time off, then they're basically carrying not a liability. Well, from a town financial perspective, you could say it's a liability because they're carrying a large vacation balance. So from what Jeff is saying, to have the management to say you're given vacation, you must take it. One of the first things that well, I don't know, Terry, does that answer your question? I did want to address something that Jeff had said. Terry, did that answer your question? Or Adam, you can do a better job?
I mean, the only way it would really impact is, let's say if an employee had 3 weeks and said, you know, I'm done today, then you have to pay out that vacation.
Right, a liability to the town.
Yes, but if that employee stayed, it would be them just taking the time off and it's already within the budget. So there would be minimal, no impact if the employee, unless they were to take off.
And Terry, they all, you know, the letters that we have, I didn't understand the third one. So in the difference between the other two said roll 40 and then one was talking about floating 1 week.